Welcome. Everyone is watching the model race. New releases, new benchmarks, new demos, new hype, new claims that everything is changing again. And look, some of that matters. But I think most people are still staring only at the surface. Because for me, the real AI story is no longer just that models are getting smarter. The real story is that AI is starting to leave the screen. It's moving into power, into cooling, data centers, into materials, robotics, logistics, planning, into all the ugly, expensive, high friction parts of the real world that we live in. That is where this gets serious. This episode is presented by Welly Group. Welly helps hard service business scale by growing EBITDA, tightening operations, and helping them become more valuable. Better systems, better follow-up, better economics, and bigger exits. It is also presented by Encratea.co. Encratea is the agentic video recorder for important meetings and solo recordings. It helps before, during, and after. It captures notes, takes actions, and captures the thinking that usually gets lost. Here's the thesis. The biggest opportunity in AI is no longer just building another clever interface on top of a model. It is building the stack that turns intelligence into output. That is a different game. And if that sounds abstract, it is not. Because once AI stops being just a chatbot and starts becoming part of real work, the bottlenecks change. The bottlenecks become compute, then power, then heat, then physical infrastructure, then deployment into messy environments, then coordination across machines, people, and time. That is now the game. Yes, the frontier labs matter. OpenAI matters. Anthropic matters. Mistral matters. NVIDIA matters. Of course they do. The frontier is moving so fast, incredibly fast. It's exponential. The models are getting better. The agents are getting more capable, and the tools are getting more useful. But better models are becoming the entry ticket. That is the part people need to understand. Soon, being impressed by the model itself will not be enough. The better question is this: what happens when intelligence gets cheap enough, good enough, and persistent enough to be embedded into real systems? This could be like Mythos, by the way. When it gets powerful enough, you can put it in and it actually makes things happen. What happens when it starts touching physical infrastructure and workflows across industries, industrial, construction, all of these sorts of things, supply chains, field operations, construction, transport, materials processing? That is when AI stops being a novelty and starts becoming the infrastructure we use. And infrastructure is where fortunes get built. Because intelligence is where fortunes get built. Intelligence on its own is not the prize. The prize is leverage. Output is also the prize. A better answer in a chatbot is nice, right? A better outcome in the physical world is worth far more. That is why I think the next serious wave in AI is going to be built around the intersection and at the intersection of software and industrial reality. Power, cooling, planning, materials, machines, coordination, real constraints, real money, and real margins. That is where everything gets more interesting for me. And this is also where the software crowd gets caught sleeping. Because a lot of people in tech still think the future belongs only to software products. I don't buy that. I think the future belongs to the people who can connect intelligence to the physical world. Think of Atoms, the Uber CEO who got kicked out and now he's building his own thing. Atoms, check out that company. They're going to control and automate the entire physical world. They're going to automate the movement of atoms. Very big. The people who can take a reasoning system, a planning system, an agent or a swarm of agents, robots, or a robot, a scheduling engine, or a fleet layer, and plug it into something messy, expensive, and real, that is way harder than just chatbots. That is uglier, and it is far less glamorous. And that is exactly why the opportunity is bigger. Take data centers, for example. Everyone wants to talk about chips. Fine. But if the demand for reasoning explodes, like it is expected to, then the pressure does not just hit the chips. It hits the racks, it hits substations, it hits cooling loops, it hits electrical design, water, land, build speed, maintenance, co-locations. It hits the entire physical chain that sits underneath intelligence. So the AI story becomes a thermodynamic story, not just a chatbot story. It's an energy story. It's an engineering story. It is a construction story, fundamentally, not just a software story. And that matters. And then comes along material science. This is another area where the average conversation is way too shallow. If AI scales, demand rises for more than just models. It rises for batteries, semiconductors and conductors, power electronics, thermal systems, advanced materials, recycling processes, supply chain resilience. Think of all the things that are happening in the world at the moment. Supply chain disrupts the whole output of AI. It does. And things that we see in the present were built months ago, potentially years ago. All right? And that means that the stack gets physical very fast. This means that the businesses that are going to win are not just the ones making intelligence. They are the ones that are going to be enabling the intelligence. And the difference there is huge. Because now you're not just looking at apps or a browser. You're looking at the suppliers, the infrastructure, the processing, the logistics, the equipment, the maintenance, the vertical software, the orchestration layers. That is a much bigger map. And this is exactly why I keep coming back to construction. Excuse me. Because construction is one of the best places to study what happens. It's one of the best places to study what happens when intelligence meets real friction. Not theory, not demos, friction. Weather, traffic, delays, crew availability, machine scheduling, everything. Supplier coordination, site access, safety, redoing work, waste, and timing. That is what you find in reality, right? And if you are to look at that reality honestly, you start to see why construction autonomy is not going to arrive as one big sci-fi moment. It's going to come in layers. It's going to arrive in layers. Okay? So first of all, the quoting will get smarter. Then the planning gets smarter. Then dispatch gets smarter. And then the fleets will get smarter. There'll be autonomous concrete pumps and concrete trucks. All of these it will completely be autonomized, I believe, in the next 10 years. 10 years is a long time in this day and age. All of this will get smarter. The communications will be more accurate and tighter. Machine data starts feeding decisions, having IoT devices inside of different trucks, different assemblies, different anything. Will be recording and finding what needs maintenance, scheduling that in. You'll swap out for different things, and that will become the whole system, right? Then, after that, once the machine data is starting to influence decisions and scheduling, then the specialized robotics will come in, okay? After that, the whole job starts behaving less like chaos and more like an operating system. That is how autonomy in construction will actually show up. It's not going to be magic. It won't show up as magic. It'll be showing up as compounding coordination. And if you want one of the best wedges in that whole world, I think concrete is near the top of the list. right? Why? One, it is the biggest natural resource in the world. Below water, it is the most consumed thing on Earth. Nothing beats concrete, right? It's in everything. And why is that the best in the world to get out? It's because bad coordination in concrete always burns cash immediately. Concrete's perishable, the timing matters, pump allocation matters, supplier timing matters, site sequencing matters, as in like you need to have things sorted, you have to have all the processes in place ready to go, your crew availability matters, traffic matters, and your utilization of all the fleet matters. If you miss one of these and the economics, you miss one of these, the whole economics of the whole day, or it can go absolutely sideways. And that's exactly the kind of market where leverage is built upon intelligence. It's not some soft productivity game. It's not going to save you 10 minutes in a design doc, right? It's margin, it's uptime, it's cycle time. It is fewer mistakes in real world infrastructure. It is better scheduling. It's less waste. It's more jobs completed. It's higher utilization of expensive assets. This is what makes a business more scalable and eventually more sellable. That is why I think autonomous concrete is real. It is coming. Not because tomorrow there will be one robot that runs the whole job site on its own. No, that is a fantasy. I mean autonomous concrete in the real sense. Smarter quoting, smart dispatching, ordering, scheduling, routing, pumping, quality assurance, follow-up, machine coordination, all of these, layer by layer, stacked upon each other, system by system, constraint by constraint. That is how the industry changes. And by the way, this is why I think hard service businesses are massively underrated. People look at them and see old economy. I look at them and see operational leverage waiting to be unlocked. I see businesses with real customers, real demand, real friction, real money moving through them, and usually terrible coordination. That is exactly where AI can matter. Not because it looks flashy, but because it changes the economics. So if you're a founder, here is the shift I would make in hard services. Stop asking only, what is the best model? Ask instead, where does intelligence remove labor? Where does it compress cycle time? Where is it going to improve utilization? Where does it reduce coordination failure? Where does it improve gross margin? Where is it going to make this ugly business cleaner, tighter, faster, and of course, more valuable? Those are better questions. Those are business questions. Those are the questions that lead to real companies in the edge of AI. And if you're an operator, the takeaway is even simpler. Do not wait for AI, for some perfect AI future. Find the leaks and look at them in your business now. Where are you losing time? Where is money looking? Sometimes you won't even know. And you can have AI come in and find these leaks. Where are all the handoffs failing? Where is communication slow? Where is your follow-up weak? Where are all your business assets underutilized? Where are trucks sitting idly in the yard, right? Because these are the things that you want to solve. Where is chaos being accepted as normal? Those questions will point you to where the upside is. That is where systems create EBITDA. That is where better planning creates value. That is where messy businesses start becoming a serious one. This is why I keep saying the next decade of AI is not just about smarter answers. It's about physical leverage, physical automation. It is about turning intelligence into physical output, into more throughput, cleaner operations, tighter economics, real work getting done with less waste and far more precision. That is the game. So yes, watch the model releases, Study the frontier, pay attention to all the frontier labs, but don't stop there, because the real opportunity is not just who makes the smartest model. It is who uses intelligence to research, to reshape the physical world. Again, cooling, power, materials, robotics, planning, concrete, industrial systems, hard services, real work. That is where this goes next. And the people who understand it early will not just be users of AI. They will be the ones building the stack beneath it. That is the thesis. And I think that is where the real upside is. If you're a hard service business owner, you should use Welly. They will come into your business, grow EBITDA, put the systems in place to make you scale faster, leaner, and quicker than you thought possible. They help businesses between £500,000 in revenue a year and £2.5 million a year. If you're looking to scale beyond that, potentially double in the next year, they will come in and help you. And they were one of the sponsors of today's podcast. Finally, here's just some fun from off the cuff from me. If you own a service-based business, start playing with AI. If you haven't already, play with AI. Go into Claude, go into these frontier models and say, this is the problem with my business. Go into it and say, I want to fix this, and come up with a plan. Don't just immediately start burning tokens. Go into it, play with it, figure out where it can help you, and then build the internal systems with that. Of course, Welly helps with this as a step-by-step done-for-you process. You don't even have to learn the models. They just get the output done. And that's what I'm bullish on. I'm bullish on AI reshaping the entire construction industry. It's one of the biggest in the world, completely overlooked. And when we go to space on new frontiers, like our friend Elon is pushing us towards, we're going to see a huge discrepancy in manual versus physical labor. Manual versus automated labor is what I'm saying. Everything will be automated. Building will be automated. You can't go outside and lay concrete and lay brick like we can here on Earth. That is just not feasible. Metal will be used way more in buildings. Concrete will still be used, but it'll be astral concrete. There's some cool companies. I might link them below. You should check them out of the companies building in like the space concrete. So using stardust effectively or the lunar rock to make concrete on the moon. Very exciting ideas. Given that the most recent moon circularization, I don't even know. Given that has happened recently, it makes you wonder, well, when are we going to be living there? Who's going to be building that? And for me, it always comes back to infrastructure, physical, real-world problems, networking, building things in space. Once we can completely autonomize and have construction be a production line, then we can take that to new frontiers, building underwater, building above water, building in space, whatever that may look like. Once it's autonomized, it can be placed anywhere. This, for me, is very exciting. Thank you for being on the podcast today. I appreciate your time. Have a great day.